The other one must be there.
Yeah, so maybe you need to tell Linda to just delete that one.
A question about publicly listed whatever, and I never got it because it was the wrong email.
Just something to think about.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order this evening. My name is Lucy Bisson. I'm the chairperson of the planning board, and I ask Christine Kittredge to call the roll, please.
Roger Dupre.
Here.
Joshua Najin.
Here.
Michael Marcotte.
Present.
Shanna Cox.
Here.
Lucy Bisson.
Here.
And myself, Christine Kittredge.
Thank you, Christine.
Josh, are you here?
Yes. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
No.
And correspondence, you did put something on our seats.
Yeah, there's two items. One is an email I sent the board this afternoon with a comment from the city engineer about the 855 Lisbon Street subdivision, just an additional condition of approval they'd like to see. And then additional information on 112 and 115 Shawmut Street. And then the other is an email from Amy Smith, who couldn't be at the meeting this evening, that wanted to share some of her thoughts on the applications this evening with you.
Okay, thank you. And so we'll move on to public hearings. So public hearings, the first one is Mark Turner on behalf of Landmark Investments LLC has submitted an application for a 6-lot subdivision on 16.8 acres located at 1 and 2 Streamside Drive. And Shelley, would you like to give us staff comments, please?
Yes, so this project is on 2 parcels. The subdivision would divide those 2 parcels into a total of 6 parcels at the end of the subdivision. What's a little unusual for the board, this may be the first time you've seen it, this is the first staff review I've written where we've used our new frontage right-of-way provisions. So you may have seen a few projects like that. Interestingly enough, your next project this evening is also using a frontage right-of-way, so you'll be old hat by the end of the meeting at this.
All right.
So the way a frontage right-of-way works is that it provides essentially a driveway to rear lots to allow those to be developed, and provides frontage for those lots off of the driveway. So street standards that we're used to looking at typically don't apply, although there are some requirements for the frontage right-of-way as far as its width and construction materials. The maximum number of lots that are allowed currently on a frontage right-of-way are 6 residential lots, so the 6 lots is fine. They do meet the requirements for the frontage right-of-way provisions and design. There are a couple of conditions that we've suggested related to that as far as pavement of it, not, the first 4 lots can be on a gravel road, but lots 5 and 6, it has to be paved. So that's part of the conditions that we've proposed. During your review, staff recommends that you would make a finding on the frontage right-of-way, as well as the review criteria you can see under the approvals that we've listed, both of those. And then subdivision we've listed separately.
Okay. Ms. Cox?
It's just 2 process questions.
Okay.
You just said make a finding, but both of our recommended actions tonight are to make a motion. Is there a third action?
No, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I think the way I've done it, and you could actually do this as 3 steps if you would prefer, I lumped the frontage right-of-way section under that first motion. So you can see it's section 4, which is your standard approval criteria, and section 10, frontage right-of-way. If you want to, you could split those out, but that's how I've written it.
And if we don't want to, this language satisfies?
Yes.
And the 3 staff recommended actions, in addition to anything the board might find, would have to be repeated for both motions?
That's a good question.
It's too early to bring the bad ones.
Yeah, so 2 and 3 are both related to the frontage right-of-way. 1, yeah, I guess I would, do you have a suggestion? Not necessarily, so if you, 2 and 3 definitely should be with the frontage right-of-way, which would be that first motion, number 1, which just has to do with financial capacity. You could do all of those as part of the first one and not have any conditions for subdivision if you wanted.
Thank you.
Anyone else have staff comments, questions? Okay, I will read Amy's comments on the stream side. She said there were a few typos in the application where map 40 lot 40 was referred to as map 40 lot 60. She noted the following locations but may have missed some. Blue cover, she's got a number of places where this typo is. If somebody wants, I can give them the sheet and they can correct it. And that's it, it was just a couple of typos. I have a question on staff. In the first paragraph of your project description, it talks about 1 and 4 will have city water and sewer, while 5 and 6 will have private wells and septic systems. And when I read the, more deeply in there, it said that 5 and 6, the soils are okay for a single-family home. What about this whole thing with the ADUs in the future? I mean, do they have the correct soils? That was just a consideration that I was thinking of.
Yeah, so if they wanted to add an ADU in the future, they would either use their existing septic system, and at the time they apply for a building permit, they would need to provide proof that the septic system was sized accordingly. So the ADU number of bedrooms would get added to the household number of bedrooms. And so if there needed to be an expansion, then code enforcement would catch that at that time.
Okay.
If they wanted to do a separate septic system, then they would also need to prove that, the soils had capacity and that they had space on the property to locate the second septic.
Okay, I just, this is coming up more and more, and so it was just a consideration that I thought about. Okay, if Mr. Turner would like to come up and discuss the project with us more, would you introduce yourself for the record, and maybe staff, members of the board may have some questions, I'm not sure.
Hi, I'm Mark Turner. Here for any questions.
Okay, and this gentleman should introduce himself as well.
I'm Stuart Davis of Davis Lansering. We helped Mark in putting this application together.
Okay.
The only thing I might add that Shelley didn't mention, that we were here, I think 2021, and did a frontage right away for 2 lots. It was accepted by the board. Then you changed your zoning, now we're here for the 6. The road alignment and the road center alignment and the profile is pretty much stayed the same right from even back in the 80s when this was initially an 80 some odd lot subdivision. We've done some minor engineering because the first 4 lots would be on the sewer system. And Mark can maybe speak to this more, but these are going to be pumped down to a structure that was put in the beginning, first 100 feet of the road. Then from there it'll tie into the city sewer.
Okay. Does anyone on the board have any questions for these 2 gentlemen regarding this project?
I might have some after public comment.
Okay. In that case, I will open it up to the public. If there anyone who wishes to speak regarding this before or against, please go up to the podium and state your name and your address. You will have 3 minutes. That's the podium. Yeah, identify yourself with your name and address, and then.
We're at 230 Grove Street, and my name is Dan Robitaille.
Okay.
And I'd like to know who's paying for this road that's being built. Is it the city or is it Turner?
It's them because it's a private driveway. It's not it will not be an accepted street unless they build it to the city standards, but they will be paying for it.
Also, it was told to us that there was only going to be 2 houses in there, and now they want 6 houses more. What's to stop them from putting even more than that after that?
Current
Well-
zoning ordinances.
Ordinances, and they would have to come
Didn't
back.
they change the ordinance already?
Yes.
Yes.
Why can't they change it again?
Well, they would, they can, possibly.
Oh,
us.
I see. So they just changed the ordinance?
No, it's not them that changes it, it's the city staff.
Right, right.
It's us, the planning board, and
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's,
Well, we know how that works.
okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak before, for or against? Okay.
Hello, I'm Jesse Moody. I live at 216 Grove Street. I actually own the dam to the pond. My issue is not with Lewiston growing. I'm fine with Lewiston growing as long as it's not Section 8 moving into our neighborhood. For two, I don't want the pond to be damaged at all. I would like for them to stay 75 feet away from it, not cut the trees down. I do have a beaver that lives in that pond and other wildlife. I don't want none of that damaged. That's where the issues were. You know, it was 2 homes a year ago. Now it's 6. Next year, it's going to be 16. The year after that, it's going to be 24. I know the game. I know what's going to happen. I'm fine with that. I don't mind growing, but our road, people are doing 80 mile an hour down our road. We've been here twice begging for somebody to come stop people doing 80. I got motorcycles at 9 o'clock at night doing 100 mile an hour. And you just paved half the road. I don't understand why you paved the rest of the road. It's our taxes doing it. I mean, the rest of the road is crap. It's filled in with cracks.
It all has to do with the public works, how they schedule the, you know, the
I get
repairs and
that,
stuff.
and I understand that.
And we
I
don't
just,
have any
I don't,
say.
I don't want people turning into that private driveway and getting smacked going 80 mile an hour down that hill. We do have issues very, very badly. I've had, you know, my dog ran over. I've had other wildlife ran over right there in front of my driveway. People do not care.
Then you need to perhaps contact the police department and ask them if they can enforce the speed limit. That's all we can do. I mean, there's nothing we can do.
So when you change the code next time, do we get a paper saying that you guys are going to change the code again?
Yes,
'Cause
you
I
get
didn't-
notified that.
Okay, because I didn't get nothing until I got for this meeting right here. That's it. That was a week ago.
Just a clarification, when the city council makes a change like the frontage right-of-way provision that applies to the entire city, there is no notification that goes out.
Okay.
To personal homes, but it's posted on the website
Sure.
and in public papers. and-
Absolutely.
And you can sign up for text alerts to be texted with agendas for both the planning board and the city council by text or email.
Okay, just my main problem is that pond. I'm the one who maintains the dam, not the city of Lewiston.
Yep.
Not Mr. Turner, I do. And if anything gets forced down that way and it destroys my dam, I'm gonna come looking for somebody to help me with the money on it.
Okay.
I put too much money into it, so
Certainly.
that's all I'm worried about.
Sir?
Okay.
Thank you.
As I look at maps, can you just say your address for me again? I'm just looking for them on the maps.
Yeah, sure.
I'm
It's
sure it's recorded.
216 Grove Street.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak?
Good evening. My name is Pauline Goodis, and I live in Lewiston. I want to commend Mr. Turner for only putting in 6 houses. Some people have complained he was only going to put in 2. Well, when I was on the planning board, Mr. Turner was going to put in about 65 houses with very short frontages to the point they couldn't put in garages. So I have to give Mr. Turner a lot of credit for not making this a cluster development. The reason I'm here tonight is I'd like to ask Mr. Turner, what is the plan for the rest of that property? Because originally the road was going in where it is now, and now it's a private way, very similar to Bob's Way and the Ballpark Road. They're not public streets. They're private right-of-ways. Is Mr. Turner going to complete and eventually make that a road and extend that road? Because I think originally, if my memory serves me correctly, the road was going from Grove all the way around and coming out at the dead end of Mark Street. I'd like to know what the plan is for the rest of that property, if possible.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Turner?
I don't have a plan currently to do anything with the backland right now. So we were gonna do the 84 lots, but the road cost with water and sewer, basically, it was prohibitive to build that subdivision. And so we were looking for alternatives, and this is the alternative that we came up with for now.
Okay.
So that's all I know for now.
Okay, thank you.
To maybe help answer that one gentleman's question about the pond, these lots, I think it's just 1 and 2, affect that pond area, and they have a 100-foot setback from the pond itself. So the rear setback for these lots would be 100 feet from the pond and/or the wetlands that are there, which would be 25 feet from those, so.
Okay.
I think,
Okay, that should help reassure him. He wanted 75, no, you're giving him 100, so that should help. Okay, great. Anyone else wish to make any comments regarding for or against this project? Okay, in that case, I will close it to the public, and I will bring it back to the board. And Ms. Cox, you look like you have some questions.
I think you might have actually answered it already, but I want to ask expressly, this planning board and the city of Lewiston in general has come under fire for our ability to be supportive of growth and development, and we were very intentional about considering and then approving, the council approving the right-of-way changes, which allowed for, as you noted, the additional 4, and is limited to 6 total for those who are in the audience listening. And so I'm just curious about when you noticed that change and how that impacted your ability to increase development, just in terms of feedback for our own process and learning.
as far as me, I heard it from Mark. We did the 2
Good job,
lots
Mark.
initially, and then the zoning was changed. Mark called me up, can we extend this to the 4 lots?
Yeah, I think I was kind of following along and I saw that you were working on it. And again, we have a lot of money in this land. I mean, a lot. And I could never figure out how to get it off the ground just because the costs were so high. So this is kind of a happy medium for me. I can afford to do it, and, you know, from my point of view, I build houses, so if I can get a few more lots, it definitely helps me offset some of that sunk cost that's already in the project, so. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else have any questions for the applicant? In that case, I would entertain a motion or several motions.
I'm happy to help with that, if you'd
Absolutely.
like.
Thank you.
Sure. I would like to make a motion that the application submitted by Mark Turner on behalf of Landmark Investments LLC for a 6-lot subdivision located at 1 and 2 Streamside Drive meets all of the necessary criteria contained in the zoning and land use code, including, but not limited to, Article 13, Section 4, approval criteria, and Article 12, Section 10, frontage right-of-way, and that development review approval be granted with the following conditions. That proof of financial capacity be provided prior to the issuance of a building permit, that the approved frontage right-of-way plan will be recorded in the Androscoggin County Registry of Deeds within 90 days of approval. If the plan is not recorded within this time period, the development review and/or subdivision approval shall be null and void. That prior to the issuance of occupancy permits for any of the lots served by the frontage right-of-way, the owner's engineer shall certify to the city of Lewiston that the frontage right-of-way has been constructed in accordance with the requirements contained in the approved plans and in the zoning and land use code, Article 12, Section 10, frontage right-of-way provisions.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roger. Any further discussion from the board? Then I'll call the roll. Roger Dupree?
Yes.
Joshua Najin?
Yes.
Michael Marcotte?
Yes.
Shanna Cox?
Yes.
Christine Kittredge?
Yes.
Lucy Bisson? Yes. Okay.
I'd like to make another motion that the application submitted by Mark Turner on behalf of Landmark Investments LLC for a 6-lot subdivision located at 1 and 2 Streamside Drive meets all of the necessary criteria contained in the zoning and land use code, including but not limited to Article 13, Section 5, coordination with state subdivision law, and that subdivision approval be granted with no further conditions.
Do I have a second?
Got them all in the first time.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on the board? I'll call the roll. Roger Dupree?
Yes.
Joshua Najin?
Yes.
Michael Marcotte?
Yes.
Shanna Cox?
Yes.
Christine Kittredge?
Yes.
Lucy Bisson? Yes. Okay, happy building.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
Yes, good luck. Do you want the notes where she found some typos for you?
Sure. Yes.
I think one of them was on one of your documents, but the rest might be on Mark's. Oh, okay, well then, there you go.
Okay, it's what's circled in red.
Nice delegation.
All right. Okay, I mean, it's no big deal, but I just want to correct stuff. Okay,
Thank you.
absolutely. Next public hearing is MRE LLC, has submitted an application for a 3-lot commercial subdivision on 21.5 acres of former Promenade Mall property located at 855 Lisbon Street. Ms. Norton?
Is busy.
Oh, okay,
Notes and such.
yes.
Hi, sorry about that. I didn't get
problem.
a chance to let the applicant know about the additional condition that we were proposing that came in after the city engineer got back from vacation this morning. So.
Ah, yes.
So I just wanted to give them
Summer.
a chance to look at that. I know, it is summer, finally. Okay, so this project is a 3-lot subdivision at the former Promenade Mall property. The intent is to split out the Promenade Mall as its own lot and to split off development in front into separate areas for just the purpose of redevelopment of the site. So there would be Lot 1, which would include the existing auto parts store and the new retail building that you looked at a couple of weeks ago, where the Dollar General is potentially moving, that has frontage on Essex Street, and then also has an access off the frontage right-of-way. A Lot 2, which is 4 acres, which is for future development. And that would get all of its access and most of its frontage off the frontage right-of-way. And then a Lot 3, which would be the mall portion of it in the back. And that will get all of its frontage off of Essex Street. So it would no longer be accessed by the main road that comes into the mall right now. Okay. The applicant right now, one of the comments staff had is that the applicant is proposing that only Lot 2 would bear the maintenance responsibilities of that main road that comes in right now, and the board may want to discuss that with the applicant, as there are other parcels that would potentially gain access off of that. Though that's certainly their choice. Okay. Similar to the last one, the way staff structured this was one approval for the development review and frontage right-of-way, and a second one to satisfy subdivision. There are some additional comments or recommendations from staff that have to do with that road. Right now, it doesn't have a name that goes into the I guess, not the primary road that goes into the middle of the site. So that would need to get a name and have 911 approval and put on the plat before filing at the Registry of Deeds. Again, the frontage right-of-way filing requirement that you saw on the last project, which is part of our frontage right-of-way provisions.
Sorry, Shelley, just
Yes.
clarifying question. The road without a name
Yes.
is essentially East Ave, right? I'm not suggesting a name, but I'm just making sure that I'm visually.
It kind of extends, yeah, if you
Yeah.
were to extend East Ave across, yep.
Okay, just making sure I knew which road we were talking about.
Yeah.
Great.
There is a couple of comments from Public Works. Number 4 has to do with the relationship with Franklin Property Trust. There's access for that road over their land, so making sure that that's access is provided, that there be easements provided for water service, and then there would be that 6th condition that staff had passed out that has to do with the applicant installing water shutoff valves. If the property is to be split up, then it makes sense at this point to make sure that there's proper shutoffs for each of the buildings, and staff, Public Works staff hasn't been able to find that in the field. So to clarify either where they are or to add new ones.
Okay,
So that's what staff has at this time.
okay. Are there any questions from the board for staff?
Maybe one,
Okay,
sorry.
no problem.
I don't know if I'm asking this question right or if it matters, but the condition number 4, does the applicant have the ability to get the right title and interest to Franklin Property Trust parcel?
They could have an easement or something that just shows that they have that ability.
Okay, any other questions from the board? In that case, I will open it up to the public. If anyone,
Applicant.
oh, well, you can come up and speak. Yeah, well, a little bit of both, how's
Come
that? We'll have Mr. Gendron be the public and come up and speak against his project, how's that?
I'm a little confused of all this late filing of stuff, but we'll try to answer any questions you have. So I have nothing else but answer questions that you have. Right title and interests for the 50 by 80 foot, this mall has been there since 1996, and Franklin Company would not have let that happen if we didn't have right title and interest, so we do.
Okay,
It goes to the Lisbon Mall Trust or something like that. So we'll put a note on the plan to refer to that easement that we have from Franklin Company to access the site.
okay,
As far as the one that was handed out tonight, there are shut-off valves. The water has been shut off to those buildings before. So it would not be our intent to install new valves. It would be
I
our
think they're
intent.
just asking for you to help know where the location is
We'll
because
show
they
'em.
haven't been able to find it.
Yeah, we'll get one of the retired water service folks to show us where they are.
okay.
Dave knows them well, so we will be able to show them where where that thing is. Other than that, I don't think we had any questions. I'm not sure why we need a street name. There wasn't one there before. This is not a street. It's a frontage right-of-way for one lot. But if that's what we need, then I guess we'll...
Mr. Gendron can pick a name, one of his.
Yeah, it's going to be Dave's Way. Until they tell us, no, we can't do that.
There's already a Gendron Drive, isn't there? Like that.
Yeah,
one's
there is
taken.
a Gendron
Okay.
There is Gendron off of Alfred Plourde.
Yeah.
Okay, so, one comment from Amy, who couldn't be here, one of our board members. And this, she states that it feels that one goal is to completely split the warehouse area from the retail area. And I was glad to see the green buffer created by removing 18,519 square feet of impervious material. It would be nice if there was also a visual barrier like trees, so the very long, bland warehouse wouldn't be visible.
As visible.
As visible.
And again, we have shown green space there. We are intentionally separating the warehousing from the rest of the site and changing traffic flow. There is no intent to put a green space in there now until we finish the last pad site we're trying to create. And at that point, I'm sure we'll visit buffering and stuff.
Okay.
The mall has been updated from where it was and what it was. So, I guess some of us like looking at buildings and some may not. But today, we're not proposing any additional landscaping, and I would have to talk to Dave more about that as we get that last retail pad site filled.
Okay.
And, that's where we
Okay.
are.
Yes, Mr. Najim?
I have a couple of questions about, on Dave's Way, it looks like. Kinda like it.
Christopher Branch Way.
Yeah.
We did a few years back.
Yeah.
It looks like we're possibly doing a bit of a road diet there, because I think there's like 4 lanes already, but the way it's set up now, is that gonna be shrunk a little bit?
No, one of the conditions is that we certify that the road is built according to the plan. We're not proposing any changes other
Okay.
than cutting it at the end. That's the only thing we're doing. We're not proposing any changes. We're gonna leave the road the way it is because a retail tenant could require those 4 lanes, okay? If once we know the last tenant and there's need for more green space, we'll potentially put more green space in. We've done a lot of math on the plans to make sure that each lot meets the green space requirements, and I went through that in my cover letter. So right now, that lot, that remaining pad site is at 75%. Once we get a building in there, things will change and we'll modify it for that building, okay?
Gotcha. And the other thing I was gonna note was the last time we were talking about the development of Advanced Auto Parts, I had a specific question about trees coming down on Essex Street, which at the time you said you didn't believe any were, but there is a 30-foot tall evergreen on its side right now in front of Advanced Auto Parts. Not that, I knew it was gonna have to come down, because when you look at the plan, it was in the space. But I just want you all to consider that at some point, depending on how we plant that side and what we put there is at least one home on the other side, so it's just considering like how to.
We met with the homeowner, David did, as I understand it, and we agreed to extending the landscaping.
Okay.
To buffer the loading area as we did. And I didn't think that, so there's a tree that you're saying is coming down?
It already came down.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about that.
No,
I didn't think
no
we were,
worries.
yeah.
For not memorizing every single tree.
Yeah, I have every plan. But usually I catch that stuff, but.
Yeah. Anyone else? Mr. Dupree?
Michael, on sheet 2 of the plans, you show green space going from Essex Street clear across the parking lot, the opposite location, with the entrance on Essex Street going in there. Is there a reason for that?
On sheet 2,
Well, that's how they're separating the two properties, with that green space.
You've got an entrance on Essex Street, which goes nowhere.
Well, no, that's for the warehousing.
Services the front of the warehouse building.
Yeah, it services the warehouse.
There's no warehouse, everything is from the back, isn't it, Dave?
no, there's warehouse in the upper levels. It's all been converted to warehouse.
Yeah.
The entire building, except for the dollar.
Except for the,
There was another entrance there that's gone now.
Yeah, there was another entrance that was blocked at one point.
Yeah.
But the entrance that's there by the old former Staples is gonna remain, and that's gonna serve the front area of the warehouse. Yeah, and there are two loading doors that have been put in the middle of the building towards the front, near the access road coming in from Lisbon Street, and there have always been two loading doors at the end of the building. That was there when, I remember, I think it was Bradley's that was there. I hate to
So the
date
only
myself.
access to Advance and the Dollar General is gonna be from East Avenue?
No, yes, from East
Lisbon
Avenue.
Street, yeah.
From
Dave's Way.
There is a loading area in back of the Advanced Auto that's gonna remain, but all access to these lots, the two lots along Lisbon Street that are gonna be there for the Tim Horton and the gas station, and the two retail sites in the back are all gonna come through that entrance at Lisbon Street. That's why we wanna leave the lanes and stuff, especially since we know that there's gonna be two fast food facilities there.
So just to verify, so Essex Street's gonna be basically just tractor trailer truck and maintenance and whatnot. Like, it's just not gonna have any, for the most part, no one.
None of this retail development's gonna go out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any other questions for the applicants? Okay, in that case, I will open it up to the public now. If you wish to speak in favor or against, would you please go to the podium and state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name's Kim Clow. I live at 90 Summit Avenue. I was here last month for my first planning board meeting in regards to this. We talked about the noise, and this wasn't the place or the meeting for it, and it was the first that it was heard about, and we had a sidebar meeting after, and absolutely nothing got accomplished in that meeting. The noise is still going on, it's loud, and they're working out of the ordinance limits. It's before 7 a.m. and it's after 7 p.m. Nothing's been done, and I just wanted to complain for the second time
Okay.
about it.
But you need to call the city, the planning department, and make a formal complaint.
Specifically a noise complaint, I think.
Specifically a noise, whatever your complaint is, you need to formally make that complaint, because they can't do anything until they have a formal complaint.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, great. Anyone else? Okay, in that case, I will close it to the public. Mr. Gatto, you wish to say something?
After the meeting that we left here in April, we went out into the hallway and met with 4 or 5 of the abutters, and I gave them all business cards, and we listened to what they needed. And Mr. Gendron personally took impact and went and talked with the warehouse operator, and also found that there were a bunch of truck drivers that were just parking in the mall who had no right to. And so Dave has posted it. And he has a towing company on staff or on call, and he has the police checking it. And I've only been approached by one of those neighbors, and that one neighbor said that things had gotten much better after he did that back in 1st of May.
Okay.
I was looking at my phone tonight so that I could be there. So we have addressed. The only other thing I would say to you is that if there's noise after 7, it's likely coming from somewhere else, because the warehouse tenant typically closes at 4 p.m. each day, and they start at 7.
Okay, perhaps, again, as you leave, you could have a chat with Ms. Plow and see if you can figure out what the problem is that she's experiencing.
I think
Or give her the name of the tow truck company.
Right.
Well, no, I think what we have to do is we have to find out where the noise is coming from, because it's not
Right.
coming from the warehouse.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
think she needs to do a complaint.
Okay, all right. And, okay, so do we have any further questions or comments? In that case, I'll entertain a motion,
Yes.
or 2 motions.
Happy to make one.
Okay. And lots of,
Just quick check with staff. Do I need, again, may I put all 6 conditions on the first motion, or do they need to be repeated twice?
I'm just looking at them quickly.
Well, if saving time is my goal, I might as well just dig in. I'd like to make a motion that the application submitted by MRE LLC for development and subdivision review on former Promenade Mall property located at 855 Lisbon Street meets all of the necessary criteria contained in the zoning and land use code, including but not limited to Article 13, Section 4, approval criteria, and Article 12, Section 10, frontage right-of-way, and that development review approval be granted with the following conditions. That the road be named and approved and the plans updated prior to filing of the plat at the Registry of Deeds, that the approved frontage right-of-way will be recorded in the Androscoggin County Registry of Deeds within 90 days of approval. If the plan is not recorded within this time period, the development review and/or subdivision approval shall be null and void. That prior to the issuance of occupancy permits for any of the lots served by the frontage right-of-way, the owner's engineer shall certify to the City of Lewiston that the frontage right-of-way has been constructed in accordance with the requirements contained in the approved plans and in the Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 12, Section 10, frontage right-of-way provisions. That right, title, and interest in the 50-foot by 80-foot Franklin Property Trust parcel be provided prior to the filing of the plat at the Registry of Deeds. That a public easement be provided for the water service prior to the filing of the plat at the Registry of Deeds. And number 6, that prior to the issuance of a building permit, that the drawings be updated to show the addition of new water shutoff valves or existing water shutoff valves on the existing lines to the Advanced Auto Parts and former Tim Hortons buildings.
do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Roger. Any further discussion or questions? Okay. Roger Dupree?
Yes.
Joshua Najin?
Yes.
Michael Marcotte? Shanna Cox?
Yes.
Christine Kittredge?
Yes.
Lucy Bisson, yes.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Oh, we got another one.
We just got another motion for you. Hang on. One in which I do not have to repeat all 6 conditions, or do?
Nope.
Oh,
I mean,
let's
some
just
of
do
them
it
are
for
related to the
fun.
subdivisions, so don't repeat them.
I'd
but
like to make
maybe-
another motion that the application submitted by MRE LLC for development and subdivision review on former Promenade Mall property located at 855 Lisbon Street meets all of the necessary criteria contained in the zoning and land use code, including but not limited to Article 13, Section 5, coordination with state subdivision law, and that subdivision approval be granted with the following conditions. That the road be named and approved and the plans updated prior to the filing of the plat at the Registry of Deeds. That the approved frontage right-of-way will be recorded in the Androscoggin County Registry of Deeds within 90 days of approval. If the plan is not recorded within this time period, the development review and/or subdivision approval shall be null and void. That prior to the issuance of occupancy permits for any of the lots served by the frontage right-of-way, the owner's engineer shall certify to the city of Lewiston that the frontage right-of-way has been constructed in accordance with the requirements contained in the approved plans and in the zoning and land use code, Article 12, Section 10, frontage right-of-way provisions. That right, title, and interest in the 50-foot by 80-foot Franklin Property Trust parcel be provided prior to the filing of the plat at the Registry of Deeds. That a public easement be provided for the water service prior to the filing of the plat at the Registry of Deeds. That prior to the issuance of a building permit, that the drawings be updated to show the addition of new or existing water shutoff valves on the existing lines to the Advanced Auto Parts and former Tim Hortons buildings.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Najin, any further discussion? Roger Dupree?
Yes.
Joshua Najin?
Yes.
Michael Marcotte?
Yes.
Shanna Cox?
Yes.
Christine Kittredge?
Yes.
Lucy Bisson? Yes.
Now I can say thank you.
Now, you can say thank you.
Thank you very
You
much.
can say thank you as often as you want, just don't leave.
Okay. Alrighty, so, okay. All right, last public hearing this evening, the planning board sending a recommendation to the city council for an amendment to the zoning and land use code, Article 11, District Regulations, Section 23, to increase the maximum impervious surface allowed in the resource conservation zone district for a public sewer utility. Okay, so that's what we were discussing at the last board meeting, correct?
Yes.
So this is a fairly modest change. We're adding a note to Section 23, space and bulk requirements. We're adding a note to the Resource Conservation District, permitting a greater percentage of impervious area for public sewer utility projects. And this, it's spurred by recommendations by the Lewiston Auburn Water Pollution Control Authority, LOPCA, just a mouthful. It's simply, the note itself, just reading it, reads as the maximum impervious coverage may be increased to 25% within the Resource Conservation District for a public sewer utility project. And I believe the current ratio is 0.1 for, all other projects.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tebow. Any questions from members of the board?
Have you?
Okay.
What?
Into the microphone.
I'm afraid of the microphone.
I'm afraid too.
Too. It was very loud earlier.
It was.
It was.
So my question on both of these lots, it appears that they're buildable. Is that
No,
correct?
that's,
Oh.
we're not talking, we're talking.
We're on the text change
we're on
to
the text
allow the
amendment
sewer
change
utility
to-
in
for the
the.
sewer thing.
Sorry,
Do you have any questions about that though?
I don't.
Okay. Any, yeah, Michael?
Well, it's not really a question, but when I was looking at the minutes, and that refers to this item from the last meeting, and I had asked about impervious surface and stormwater. Does the water, would the water sheet off right directly to the Androscoggin River? It wouldn't go under any city road?
No, they specified that it was going to be caught by, storm,
okay.
by gutters or whatever, and then processed.
So that in itself would prevent it from being part of the stormwater calculation?
I think, yes, and the direct answer to that question would be when we actually approve the plans for any changes to the parcel that they're looking at, but that this is just a text change.
I feel like Mike's asking another question about like a stormwater bill or something like that.
Well, yeah, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but as Shannon pointed out, that this is just the text change.
Right.
But the reason for the question the last time, and when I read the minutes, it struck me a little different than how I remembered it, because I was just simply perceiving the water sheeting off. But if it's trapped, that would qualify for not being part of the calculation. And if it does sheet off and does not pass over or under the city road, we have people in that situation in certain parts of the town that qualify for not having to pay stormwater for that reason.
Correct. So if it directly discharges to the river, so two things, from a stormwater utility fee that you folks are familiar with, if you directly discharge to the river, you don't pay the fee. So Lopka's not paying a fee. Even with this design, they won't pay a fee because it's going to go right to the river.
Yeah.
Impervious is still a number even if they treat it, so they are going to treat it. That will be when they come through development review. They have to demonstrate that they're meeting stormwater regulations, including Chapter 500. Chapter 500 is going to say, hey, great, you've created 25% impervious. How are you treating that water for both quality and quantity? They still have to do that. In doing that, they may discharge to the river, but they still have to control that water and address those aspects of it.
Mr. Najim?
Just to clarify, from what I remember from the original presentation, the plan was actually to catch any of the water that was run off, but that wasn't actually guaranteed to be the plan that they were going to put in. They were going to come forward with something that we would then.
Right.
If it was a dome or a square or a rectangle,
Yeah,
I think was the
it all
conversation.
depended on the- yeah. So that'll be addressed during development review, when they come back with the actual building, whatever they're gonna do. So, any further questions or comments? Okay, in that case, I will open it up to the public, and,
I'm sorry, my name is Mark Adams, I'm representing the authority tonight, so.
okay,
Not otherwise here as a member of the public, happy to answer any questions.
okay,
So you're for it. So you're for it.
okay, in that case, I will close it to the public and bring it back to the board for a motion, or any questions or comments? No? Then I'll entertain a motion.
And I will gladly make one. I'd like to make a motion pursuant to Article 7, Section 4, and Article 17, Section 5 of the Zoning and Land Use Code to send a favorable recommendation to the City Council for amendments to Appendix A, Zoning and Land Use Code, Article 11, District Regulations.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, Christine, all righty. And any further comments or discussion? Roger Dupree.
Yes.
Joshua Najin.
Yes.
Michael Marcotte.
Yes.
Shanna Cox.
Yes.
Christine Kittredge.
Yes.
Lucy Bisson, yes. All right. Okay.
Bring us
Other-
back your
Yeah.
geometric shapes.
Go design, or go get it designed.
Mark, for what it's worth, that'll be going to the council for first reading next Tuesday night.
Okey dokey. Other business, the planning board sending a recommendation to the city council on the disposition of 112 and 115 Shawmut Street. Craig, you're up.
So these are both approximately 5,000 square foot lots, 50 by 100, 112 and 115. 112 Shawmut has an appraised value of 13,600. 115 has an appraised value of 17,000. These are in they're in downtown residential district. They are buildable lots as long as they are at least 4,000 square feet. And, best case, most intensive use would be 3 dwelling units with a commercial use, as well. The city's property disposition policy provides for a number of options to market potentially developable properties, including a request for proposals, real estate broker, and advertising for formal bids. City administrator shall recommend to the city council the disposition method or methods to be used at the time the council is asked to approve disposition of the property.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Mr. Najin, you had some questions?
They're actually answered, that it's 3 units plus a commercial component, is that correct?
That's how we've been, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Dupree?
Greg, has Greg Sotomayor been contacted in regards to these two properties, as far as Rise Up being
Not to our understanding.
Typically what happens is after a recommendation from you folks, it goes to the planning board, then.
No, it goes to city council.
Excuse me, to the council. That an RFP goes out. So at that point, if somebody like Raise Up was interested in it, they could put together a proposal for this parcel or any other vacant parcel, similar to the recommendation you folks provided with 30 Blake Street.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Marcotte?
So, RFP goes out, someone responding could put one in for both properties or one or the other?
Yeah. Yeah, they're not being sold together.
Yeah, they're not abutting, so I unless somebody put together a proposal, maybe? I don't know.
So you could get dozens of proposals, and some of them could be, somebody wanted one parcel versus the other, and vice versa. And when you mentioned, was it 3 units and commercial, that's the most intensified use, right?
And I think I'd correct myself. If it's just a conservative estimate, if it's at least 5,000 square feet each lot, then it could do 4 units. But just sort of, we don't know for sure if it's 5,000.
So that's the most intense use. Someone could come in and want to expand the parking.
Is that right at 1250?
Yes, or use it as a garden lot, or put in a single-family home.
Yeah, they can do whatever they
anything
want.
permitted.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at one that could be an extension of the parking lot in one scenario on the right side of the map. And on the left side, one of the abutting properties needs parking space. That
Yeah.
could be the proposal.
Right.
Downtown residential.
Okay. Personally, I would love to see our motion have a recommendation that it be, the RFP be for some, a development, somebody build something, not just sell it to the abutter for parking. I'd like to see something being built in that, on those properties. I'm not, we can make the recommendation, it doesn't have to be followed, but I think that would be my preference, would be if we can get somebody to build something as opposed to just sell it to the neighbor for parking. We'll get more taxes for it, and we're trying to infill. So that would be what I have to say. Mr. Marcotte. Mr. Marcotte.
And I can't support that, and my reasons are that there's been recommendations in an RFP that's gone out in the past, and 2 years go by, and the whole thing changes anyway.
Yeah.
I understand that, the highest and best use would be building.
Right.
And
Right.
getting more taxes, but there is a need for parking for some people.
Sure.
And I can remember an occasion where the council did actually make the right decision, but the recommendation from staff was something other that particular evening. And what it did was it went out to an abutter for parking. And I'm talking about along Bartlett Street in that case. And we had another one out by Vale Street, I think, and that may have been more recent.
Okay.
There were competing bids, and it did actually go out to one of the abutters and not one of the larger institutions in this city.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? In that case, I would entertain a motion. Somebody want to make a motion?
Just give them lots of opportunity
Front
for someone
page.
else.
I will make a motion.
All right.
Pursuant to Article 7, Section 4H of the Zoning and Land Use Code, to send a favorable recommendation to the City Council for the disposition of 112 Shawmut Street and 112 Shawmut Street.
115.
115, thank you. I don't think we have any conditions.
No.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Marcotte, second. And any further discussion? Mr. Najin?
I would just like to reiterate that housing is, in my opinion, the highest and best use of these properties, especially the Franklin Property Trust 100 by 50 cut-ups that all of downtown were done in, and a 3 or 4 unit would address a need that is clearly more important in our city at this moment than parking next to a giant empty parking lot.
Okay, thank you. In that case, I will call the roll. Roger Dupree.
Yes.
Joshua Najin.
Yes.
Michael Marcotte.
Yes.
Shanna Cox.
Yes.
Christine Kittredge.
Yes.
Lucy Bisson, yes. Okay. Is there any other business? Okay, in that case, I would entertain a motion to adopt the minutes of the May 22nd meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. And Joshua, Roger Dupree.
Can I just bring up something?
Yeah, absolutely.
David, tonight on the evening news, Heather was talking in regards to the homeless shelter, that something was going to be coming back to the planning board regarding that. Do you know what it is?
A development review when it's time?
Well, they may not go because of the city council postponing something.
So I haven't seen the news.
Neither have I.
But I can tell you my understanding of the situation and as it is right now.
Does this relate to
is-
the minutes? That is the motion on the floor?
No, so let's do the motion and then we can talk about this,
Oh, okay.
okay? All right, so we've got a motion and a second. And Roger?
Yes.
Joshua?
Yes.
Michael Marcotte? Shanna Cox?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Okay, so the minutes are passed. So let's get back to the shelter.
You folks approved the conditional use permit and development review. Your role in this is done at this point, as long as they stay within the parameters of what you folks approved them for. They're going to the council on Tuesday night for approval of their license. Should the license get approved, it'll likely have conditions on it because clearly it's not ready for a shelter over there yet. So no different than you folks approving anything here with conditions like you need a building permit, you gotta get a building permit, you gotta get a certificate of occupancy, those types of things. So the only reason we go back to the planning board is if they wanted to change their conditional use approval or they found a different location for some reason.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Anyone? Or we
I
gonna
would
stay
move
here
to
all night?
adjourn.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
A little concerned about the efficiency of the board tonight. It's not even 6:30 out?
Trying to figure out if I can still go catch my kid giving a speech at his
Hey.
track banquet.
If you want, I mean, we can delay that.
No, heck no. No, it's his last run at it, so it's nice to be there.
No. No, no.
Did I give you your pen back?
Have a nice week.
Yep.
Did you get your pen back from me?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Well, sure, I hadn't given it to you, so I'm glad.
No, you
did.
had left it
Okay.
there, so
All right.
I figured you had
It's
put
yours
it
to
there.
steal.
I'll
Yes.
send an email, but I think I have to miss this.
Oh, okay. All right, just send an email. Let me know. Sorry. Good night.
Good night.
Michael, is that your Shaw's bag? Yeah. Okay, all right. I just don't want you to walk away